What's up, guys? Jumon Khan here. Today I'm going to go over 4 PSN free-to-play games I think are the best available right now.
Now what I'm going to do is rate these games 1 to 10 at the end of each segment, and the first game we're going to take a look at is Crossout. Now Crossout on the surface seems to have a lot of things going for it. It's an MMO, it's vehicular manslaughter, and it gives you the same kind of vibe of like a Mad Max Road Warrior meets Twisted Metal or Vigilante 8 from the PlayStation 1 days. You wouldn't be wrong in thinking the main mechanic on display here is vehicular destruction. And that's one of the things that it does right. But for every one thing it does right, it does a hell of a lot wrong. First up, let's go through some things that are good. It is free. It's an MMO that's in early access, so you got to give it a little bit of a break there. But what it does right is the vehicular carnage. It's visceral. It's great. It gets your heart pumping. It's really, really good, and it sucks you in. The other thing that this game does exceptionally well is the crafting. There are a ton of things to craft in this game, from weapons to shotguns to cannons to different parts for your truck, be it a bed or a cab or spikes or drills that go on the front or new tires or suspension. You can pretty much make your vehicle look however you want and assure that there is not another vehicle in the game that looks exactly like it. Now, the great thing about the crafting is you can spend hours crafting stuff and you can put it on display. There is a section that says exhibition in the main menu. And what you'd have to do is make your vehicle and submit it. And if it's good enough, they put it up. That way everybody in the community can take a look at it. And I've seen things already, even though this game hasn't been out very long on PS4, things from Batman to Mad Max Road Warrior lookalikes. Now, as I said, for everything this game does right, it does a hell of a lot wrong. And the first thing is, I know these games are free to play, and devs need to make their money. And I want devs to make money because I want them to keep making games. But I don't think they have to make all the money. And one of the things that the game does wrong is how it handles microtransactions. Now, the microtransactions, from what I could tell from the 45 minutes I spent with the game, and please, if anybody watches this and knows of a different way to get fuel than what I'm saying, let me know down in the comments, and I will put a caption in to direct people on how to do that and correct myself. But after spending 45 minutes with the game, I could see no other way to add fuel to my vehicle except for spending real-world money. And the big problem with that is this game has 8 maps and 3 modes, and 2 of those modes require your vehicle to have fuel. And each time you do one of the modes that require, now you only start out with 60 gallons of fuel, and each time you do one of the 2 modes that are PvP or PvE, it takes 20 of those gallons, whether you fail or win. So you can see requiring the fuel to be bought with real money severely limits what you can do in this game. Now, the first mode is called Missions, and that is a PvP mode. And what it is it's 16 players on a map, 8 versus 8, which seems like it's real fun. And it is fun. And I tried the mode out, and even though I'm not a PvP player, I can see why people like this mode. The next mode is Raids. Now, the Raids are 4 players against the computer. Why only 4? I don't know. Maybe since the game is in early access, they can only have 4 players on the map so that they could put as many enemies coming towards you as possible. That mode, again, is limited by the amount of fuel you have. If you run out of fuel, you got to spend real world money to get more to keep playing the raids. The last mode, and which seems to be the only mode that's really free, is the racing. Now, the racing has severe problems in that it's not balanced properly. I, a brand new player that had a very weak vehicle, the first one you're starting with, I crafted one gun, put it on my truck, and then tried to go racing because, well, I ran out of fuel and I wasn't going to spend money on the game. So I get into the races and quickly figure out, as a guy who has a car that looks like it came straight from Mad Max, blows past me with these oil can boosters that are just blowing right by me, and everyone else has a quicker vehicle than I do, and I'm relegated to the back, just cruising along like a turtle, just trying to make map. Now, that's a huge problem, but again, the game is in early access, so hopefully over the coming months that will change. So what's my final score for a game that has 3 modes, 8 levels, a ton of microtransactions that are very limiting, and free to play, and also in early access? So my final score for the game is a 5. It's an average game at best, even though it's an MMO. It's in early access, so it has plenty of room to grow. Some of the other things that the game really doesn't do well is communication. There's no real way to communicate with the other vehicles that are on the map with you. The only thing you can do is honk your truck's horn. There's no chat. There's no way to have a party chat. But again, the game's in early access, and hopefully these are features that will be added. But it seems to be, final verdict is 5 out of 10. Up next, we got Marvel's Omega Heroes. Now, there's not really a whole lot I can say about this game. I'm pretty sure it's on PC, It's not an early access, but it is sort of an MMO. It's in the same vein as DC Universe, which is another free-to-play superhero MMO. The good thing about this game is they give you access to all the available heroes up to level 10. Once you hit level 10, it's time to start grinding or dropping that real-world money. Things that are good about this game is it looks good, it's voice acted well, they use a decent use of the license here, which sometimes superhero games lack, but the fact that you can use all the characters and get a sense for how they work and what you can do with them up to level 10 is a big plus, and I think that's a good thing that devs should consider doing for every MMO. Now, the game is free, so I can't knock it there, but there are some serious flaws in the mix. One, each character only has 3 attacks. 2 of the attacks are sort of power attacks. One's a medium attack, really, one's a light attack, and then they have a third kind of attack while you're dodging mechanic. One of the things that's horrible about the Black Widow character, for instance, is one of her weapons or her attacks is simply pistols. They're not very powerful. They take a lot of shots to kill stuff, and then what you have to do with her is dodge past the characters and then shoot them in the back, and then you get a big damage boost. That brings me to another point. There are quite a few characters like Captain America, the one you start out with, that his weapon use is his shield and then bashing into stuff and punching things. While those are hallmarks of the characters, it can be limiting in how people play and slow the game down and make it really, really boring. The microtransactions weren't too bad in the game. As it is free to play, there are some in the game, but they were mostly cosmetic and things like boosters such like that. Those are normal, commonplace. I didn't see anything too outrageous like the fuel in Crossout, but all in all, I give this one a 6 out of 10. It's mildly entertaining. If you're into superheroes, it's probably a really good thing to download and check out and try. And you can get all the characters by simply grinding the game if you want to spend the time doing that. Next up, we have Onigiri. Now, Onigiri is a very interesting one, and I have to say that it's the only one that I had quite a bit of experience with, because I did play a character up to level 20, but full disclosure, I did not do that all at once. I downloaded Onigiri maybe a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, when there was a lull in the Destiny content feed. I was looking for something else to play, but didn't have a lot of money to spend, so there was Onigiri, and I downloaded it and tried it out. And Onigiri is a straight-up MMO Japanese RPG. If you're looking for something Final Fantasy-like and you don't want to spend the money on Final Fantasy XIV or Final Fantasy 15 and some of the expansions that are coming out, you can give Onigiri a try. Now, there is no localization. The voices are all in Japanese, which I think is much better. But being someone who speaks a little bit of Japanese, I find that interesting. Now, the character models, just like in any Japanese RPG, are over the top. Also, there are some bad things about it. So let's get into what's good first, and then we'll cover the bad. Now, right off the bat, the game is really easy to pick up and has a great tutorial and gets you acclimated to the game really, really well. You have 4 different weapon types to pick from, and each of those 4 weapons have 4 of their own attacks that you can level up individually and really customize your playstyle the way you want. You also have food and other items that you need to use your basic MMORPG flair. You also have costumes, and you can choose whether you're male or female, so there's lots of customization options. The other nice thing is the world is big and very expansive, and there are other players in there, and you can communicate with them. And the interface, while clunky and not very rudimentary, or actually very rudimentary, is not too bad to where it distracts or takes away from the experience, though at times it can get frustrating. Really, really well. You have 4 different weapon types to pick from, and each of those 4 weapons have 4 of their own attacks that you can level up individually and really customize your playstyle the way you want. You also have food and other items that you need to use your basic MMORPG flair. You also have costumes, and you can choose whether you're male or female, so there's lots of customization options. The other nice thing is the world is big and very expansive, and there are other players in there, and you can communicate with them. And the interface, while clunky, very rudimentary, is not too bad to where it distracts or takes away from the experience, though at times it can get frustrating. The storyline is good, and the voice acting, though still in Japanese, is acted very, very well, and adds some flair to it. Although, there are sections where sometimes the conversation between the characters gets extensively long and overdrawn and not very necessary. Another thing that is good, not all the sections are voice acted, which that can be annoying, and then other times it's really, really nice, because then you can simply read your way through at your leisure, and you don't have this distracting high pitch Japanese woman's voice talking very, very fastly in your ear. There have been some changes to the character models in Onigiri. When I first started Onigiri, it was very prevalent for, obviously, males to create female avatars running around in nothing but their underwear. Onigiri's parent company has since added underwear in the form of Speedo shorts and sports bras for the female characters if they're running around with no clothes on. But be warned, this is a Japanese RPG MMO ported to the States. So there are things in there that are inherently Japanese. And you'll know what I mean when you see the female cat character who has exaggerated breasts, hips, and a large buttocks with a tail, paws, and ears that are coming off the top, an obvious costume, but it's playing to a certain genre in a Japanese culture. Now for the bad. And I've covered some of this as part of a good bad scenario when I was covering good stuff. First off, the graphics. The game looks like it belongs on the PS2 or maybe the PS3, but definitely in between that era of games. It seriously needs a graphical upgrade, and that area is lacking severely with this game. While the game doesn't look really horrible, the basic graphics just look 2 gens old. The microtransactions aren't really that prevalent. They are there, but they're not overly abundant. So, another thing that's bad is the UI. The interface is very, very clunky. And again, another game that could have made great use of the PS4's touchpad, totally ignoring it when ported to the system. The cursor system is taken straight from the PC, you can tell, as you move the mouse around with the analog stick. And also you can use the rocker pad to bounce in between different categories, but it does make it very, very frustrating to try and figure out how to click on something. And there are icons that flash on the sides of the screen. Unless you have played the game, you wouldn't know that you could move the cursor over to those and just click on them and acquire them or take them down or open another menu. So the UI could really use a facelift as well as the graphics. The third thing is, there's not a lot of people playing the game from what I found playing on PS4. Because there's a limited number of people that are playing the game, there's a limited number of people streaming the game, there's a limited number of people that know about this game on PS4. And that's a drawback when you're talking about an MMO where some boss fights, as you'll see in this clip, do require you to have more than one person to actually take the boss down. Not a lot of them. The game's difficulty level is ramped. You can choose as you go into dungeons whether you want to do an easy, medium, or hard setting. And that's totally up to you. If I was in a group with 4 people, I think the group limit is 3, so we'll say 3 people. If I was in a group of 3 people, we could probably, if we were all close to the hard level cap, which sometimes is 4 to 6 levels above where you're at, if we were, say, 1 level below it, we could probably take it on with the 3 of us. But as a solo player going into a dungeon where you may be 1 level down, that's a big drawback because the enemies can group up on you and beat you down relatively easily. So what's the final verdict for Onigiri from me? The good things about the game are, it's free to play. It's a Japanese-style RPG that you don't have to spend money on if you don't want to. The combat is good, the customization is rewarding, and the mission and the story are decent. Not exactly Final Fantasy level, but maybe just a tier down. So those are the good things. So because of all that, the fact that it's free to play, the fact that it's a Japanese RPG, and it is fun, does have some good combat, I'm going to give this one a 6 out of 10. And my number 1 pick for the best game to play right now on PSN free to play is, of course, Paladins. Paladins is a ripoff of Overwatch. They do have a lot of things in common. There definitely was something going on between the teams because the characters in Paladins are very, very similar to the characters in Overwatch. And if you're someone who loves to watch Overwatch and you want to play that game and you don't have the money to spend to get it, Paladins is right up your alley. It's the same kind of gameplay, same kind of team-based gameplay, a lot of the same kind of characters, not exactly the same, but they do a lot of the same things. It's right up your alley. So what are the good things about the game? It's competitive. It doesn't throw you straight into competitive play right off the back. You have to level up to level 10. They give you 6 or 7 champions to start off with, to play with. And the only thing that I found lacking in the champion selection was there were quite a few damage dealers, 1 support character, and I do not remember if there was a healer or not because, again, full disclosure, I only spent about 35 minutes with Paladins checking it out. Microtransactions are there, of course, but they're in every game now. Doesn't matter if it's free to play or it's premium price. Overwatch, there are microtransactions. The freemium, being freemium, their microtransactions are not too aggressive. They are limited to things like chests and flare for making your character look different than the other versions of Victor or whatever. You can earn, and I was earning quite easily, chests to unlock cards to apply to my character. Leveling up was relatively easy. It is a team-based game, and team-based play is very, very important. I played probably 3 matches in the span of 45 minutes and lost 2 and won 1. I was able with my character to win a couple of, not plays of the game. They have that just like Overwatch. But I did win an award for dealing the most damage with the character I was playing because he's a damage dealer. But the gunplay is relatively nice for the character I was playing. The map control was relatively nice. And while I didn't get to see everything it had in 45 minutes, I'm going to continue playing this. And I'm surprised, actually, because I do not like, pardon me, my phone, do not like Overwatch. I do not like, well, I didn't think I would like Overwatch, rather, I should say. I didn't think I was going to like it, so I didn't think I was going to like Paladins. But I logged in, gave it a chance, and the game surprised me. And I kind of surprised myself in liking the game. So I'm going to give this one the highest rating that I have given so far out of the 4. It is the number 1 pick for me. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. It would be a 10 of 10 game if there were a few things like they had a bigger variety of champions to give you, not just damage dealers, but a couple more support classes. The support guy they give you is called Ferdinand. He's really, really garbage. A couple of the other characters they give you aren't really great as damage dealers. They should reapply them to something else. There's the card system and the tutorial's not very good for that. It also doesn't explain how you're supposed to level your character up as the match progresses, so there's that. It does have some varied maps, but I don't know about the game modes. They just had casual and competitive. And I'm not sure if there's a different kind of casual mode, but all we had was escort the payload. And if that's the only version, then the game's severely limited in that fashion. I hope there's more expansions coming to expand the variety of gameplay that's available. It's not like Battleborn. I played Battleborn as well, but it's definitely a substitute for Overwatch if you don't have the money to buy Overwatch. So I would suggest you buy it. So my final rate is 8 out of 10. I would pick it up, especially if you're a fan of Overwatch videos and you want to play the game really, really bad, but you don't have the money to drop on it. Or maybe you're a little guy or a kid that doesn't have the money, or your parents won't buy you Overwatch because they don't have the money to spend on it. If you do have a PlayStation Plus subscription, and Paladins is there, man, and it is, having played Overwatch and played Paladins, I can say that Paladins being a free-to-play is a great substitute if you don't have the money. I would suggest picking it up. And as always, guys, thanks for watching the video. Please sub and please like and share if you enjoyed the video. And even if you didn't, let me know down in the comments below. Take care.